Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the OneDay Summit formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. So this is going to be a fun one, the different types of events. Now, many of you might be thinking, well, there's only one type of a virtual event, right? It's a virtual event. Well, that's untrue, as you can see right here. Virtual events, we have virtual workshops, we have virtual masterminds, we have virtual summits, and under virtual summits, there's 4 different types of virtual summits. There's virtual experiences, virtual study groups, and then there's live streams. Each one of these is completely different, and they need to be approached differently, both from a technological or software or tech stack approach, as well as what you incorporate and include in them. So there's a big difference, and you can't just make, for example, as I was mentioning, you can't just make your in-person event the exact same in virtual. You could try, but you will lose engagement. You'll have lower attendee satisfaction. You need to start thinking shorter. You need to be thinking primarily engagement strategies, and you need to incorporate a different set of rules when you go virtual than you do in your in-person event. For example, if somebody stands up and starts talking in your in-person event, you can reach out and say, hey, you, sit down, stop talking. Well, if you're on virtual, and let's say it's a live streaming, how are you going to do that? Well, for one, you can make a rule that everybody has to leave their camera on while they're on this virtual, let's say, mastermind. One, that increases engagement. 2, it increases value, attendee satisfaction and value, because they feel like they're being listened to, but it also increases participation. And another thing you're going to have to think of is breaks, different types of breaks. Also, if you're used to doing a 60-minute keynote, I recommend doing it shorter. We typically go 15 to maximum 30 minutes, usually with 20 being kind of the sweet spot. So you got to think differently and understand the different types of events. Now let's go through each of these individually. Virtual workshop. So virtual workshop. Now concepts of these are the same. If you know how to do a workshop, you know how to do a workshop. Conceptually, you probably understand it. Now you just got to think about it a little bit different. Now workshop is essentially a specialized training. So let's say I'm trying to create a signature keynote. I want to be a speaker. Well, I could go to a 3-day or a 2-day training where I learn how to do a keynote. I could go to a training where they teach me a workshop where they teach me all about my finances, a financial workshop. I could go to an in-person workshop to figure out how to build out my virtual summit, for example. Now we can take those and make those virtual. However, you got to think about them differently. You're still trying to get a specialized outcome, if you will. The goal is to train or teach an outcome, but you got to do this differently. If you would normally have them, someone has traveled to your workshop, you have them uncaptivated, or you have them a captive audience, if you will, all day for the amount of days of your workshop. But if this is virtual, people are dealing with things they have at home, they have their families, they have other situations going on. It's not as if they've left and come to where your workshop is at. So you need to think about giving your sessions shorter. You need to think about giving breaks or pauses throughout so that people can deal with the things they have to deal with at home. You need to have more Q&A opportunities. You also need to think about having at-home study or prep work that is done before they come on onto the virtual workshop. Because if you are making those aspects shorter, you need to be able to get through the amounts of things quicker without having to answer all of the questions. So having some kind of preparation work or homework that is done in advance of the workshop. Also, an at-home study program that goes along would be very beneficial. Shorter, more question and answers. Now, a workshop, for those, again, is a specialized training. It's typically one teacher or a couple teachers that are getting a specific outcome, learning, or a goal at the end of it.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
Now, next is a virtual mastermind. A mastermind, just like in your in-person events, a mastermind is essentially crowdsourcing knowledge. They're primarily focused on relationships and networking, having access to a network of people that can help you get answers, solutions, resources that you need or want access to. So it's focused a lot on relationships. Most masterminds are typically 1 to 2 days. Now, these are definitely going to be shorter sessions and you need much more engagement. Most masterminds are not geared 100% towards just being taught to. They're usually geared towards spending time with the other attendees, and it's typically not the host of the mastermind doing all the teaching. They are the ones facilitating the group of people, and there's either people that are brought in to share and or a lot of times inside of the mastermind, the attendees, the people who are participating, help each other. It's I have a strength in this and a weakness with this. I can provide my strength, and then somebody else in the mastermind can provide their strength where I'm weak. So you need to make sure that you're focused on engagement and opportunities for your mastermind attendees to engage with other, to commune, to talk, and not just be a you speaking the whole time. Additionally, there's usually a relationship aspect brought into it where they get to spend time with you, the host. Usually there's dinners or activities involved. So you need to think about how you can recreate those experiences virtually. A lot of masterminds that I attend, they have fun activities throughout. They'll have a dance party. They'll have a costume party. They'll have, all kinds of different, they'll have a workout session, a meditation, a yoga, etc. All of these can be mimicked or replicated in a virtual setting as well. You just have to be creative, and we'll go through some of those creative activities. There's typically very few teachers or minimal and need to incorporate group activity, and the goal is to connect and engage. Now, virtual summits. Virtual summits are the most common type of virtual event up to this point. They are focused on delivering knowledge. So it is a lot of teaching. Length varies on the type of summit. So there's 4 different types of summits, and we'll get into those now. They typically incorporate pre-recorded video sessions, whereas the other 2 are typically done primarily live streaming. So your virtual workshops and masterminds are much more of a live stream scenario. Your virtual summits are primarily pre-recorded sessions outlined or set up in the sense of like a virtual conference. Now, the difference between this and just live streaming your conference is your conference would still be happening in person. You're just live streaming that to attendees. This virtual summit is typically is like having a conference, but it's not going on at that time. It's pre-recorded and released over a set period of time. Now, there are virtual or live streaming components that are typically incorporated throughout. Think of it as a conference. It typically has lots of speakers, lots of sessions, depending on what type it is. And it's frequently used to build a list or an audience. So it's free to attend, unlike most conferences, which there's a ticket. This can be done, but typically, historically, virtual summits are free to attend in order for the host to build an audience. They get value, and when each day or session ends, it is no longer available, and the attendee would have to purchase what is called an all-access pass to maintain ongoing access to the on-demand videos. It's considered a collaborative marketing strategy because all of the speakers on it will typically help promote it, so it gets a lot of attention, a lot of exposure, and another reason it's used to build a list. The goal is to provide solutions to problems. The speakers are providing solutions, so it's informative based a lot, like interviews, Q&A. Traditional Q&A interviews or even hybrid interviews are the most common types of sessions. Now, let's go through the different types of virtual summits because there's multiple types. We have a multi-day summit. So this is the most common type of virtual summit. It's typically between 2 days and 14 days, with 4 days being the most common. 20 speakers, upwards of 80 speakers, with 35 being the most common. And primary purpose of a multi-day summit is to build the list. Now, you said, Mark, I thought you said that your virtual events need to be shorter. Yes. Now, the difference here, for example, with a workshop or a mastermind is that your attendees have to be present while you're live streaming. They come on, if you go from 8 to noon, they've got to be available from 8 to noon. With a virtual summit, it essentially opens at a certain time and closes at a certain time, but people can come in, the attendees can come in at any time during that and consume different parts of the summit. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have 3 days. Day one opens at 8 a.m. and then closes at 10 p.m. So I could come in at 10 a.m. and watch the different sessions that I want to and then leave. Somebody else could come in at 5 p.m. and watch the sessions they want and then leave. And then at 10 p.m. when day one ends, those sessions are now locked or closed, and then day two would open. Now I could come in at any time during day two and watch those different sessions and then leave. Somebody else could come in at a different time. So the difference is I don't have to be available as an attendee the entire day to be able to participate in this virtual summit. I just have to get in during the period it's open to consume what I want. It's also not intended that you consume everything because there is a lot of content on there. It also is, again, used when the session ends. It's used as a way to get an attendee that maybe comes a little bit later and says, oh, I really wish I could have got session one. So they would upgrade and purchase an all access pass, and that would unlock the previous sessions and they get to keep it. So many categories, many topics, many themes, a lot of speakers, a lot of categories, a lot of topics. So, and then it also is very heavily focused with sponsors. Sponsors provide, because they're going to get access to this audience that's being generated. So again, it's focused on building a list. We've seen summits do anywhere on average from 2,000 to 5,000 leads, upward of, we've had summits do 20,000 to 30,000. I know friends who've done summits of 100,000 attendees. So a multi-day virtual summit, unlike a conference where you may only be able to get 100 people to 500 people or 1,000 people in person at your conference, a multi-day virtual summit can get 10 times to even 100 times that. So that's something to understand with a multi-day summit. Another type of virtual summit is a one-day summit. So just as it says, it's one day, but it doesn't mean it's a full day in length. It just means, again, that's the amount of time your audience has to consume the information, to consume the sessions that are on this. It's very tactical and specific, where a multi-day summit may be more broad in general. A one-day summit is on a specific problem or pain point. It has anywhere from about 5 speakers upwards of 15 speakers, with 8 to 10 being kind of the sweet spot. It's much quicker and easier to put on. It overcomes the issue of overwhelm and attention span with like a multi-day summit. And it's very much specifically used to increase conversions of whatever the next promotion is. So with a one-day summit, there is a variety of different topics. Like, for example, we have 10 different frameworks we use a one-day summit specifically with one-day summits. It could be for a list builder. It could be for a premium summit to monetize a current list. It could be to prime a membership. It could be for a product launch. It could be for affiliate promotion, a book launch, a brick and mortar business, a live event, a mastermind, for example. Those are all different types of one-day summit frameworks for each of those. So it increases conversions to a secondary goal because it's very specific. It brings in a qualified and engaged audience.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Now, a live streaming summit is probably the least common type of summit. You most regularly see these during like a Jeff Walker style product launch, where somebody is launching something, and at the end of that, on the last day, to get a lot of awareness, increase sales conversions, they will live stream. They'll bring their affiliates on, they'll bring their customer or clients, testimonies, etc., and they'll go live for 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, just to generate all this attention and awareness to increase conversions. It's typically situated around a product launch. There is a lot of complexity to that and risk, because if the internet doesn't work, somebody doesn't show up, etc., there's a lot of issues to that, but it is very powerful for increasing sales conversions on a specific for a specific purpose. The other type is a summit series. Typically, these are one-day summits. These are most versatile type of summits and are most commonly used by in-person event hosts or even businesses or brands that do an annual multi-day summit to be able to continue awareness, top of mind, and sales opportunities throughout the year. They're short, they're tactical, and they're continuous. So think of like a TV show and a podcast combined with like the TV show's power and the podcast loyalty, that's what you get with a summit series. Again, you'll have anywhere from 5 to 15 speakers, with 8 being the topic. Now, there's 2 different types of summit series. There's a limited summit series, which means there's like 3 summits or 4 summits, and then it ends and it's done. So for example, it's a one-day summit. You may choose frequencies of once a quarter, once a month, twice a month, or weekly even, and it'll happen 4 times. Let's say it happens monthly for 4 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it ends. It was on a specific topic and it was a limited series. Then there's ongoing series which don't end. So you have them like set a frequency of once a month, and every month you have this new one-day summit. This is really great because it allows you to have a new set of speakers without tapping into 80 of them all at one time. You spread it out over the course of the summit series, which continues to bring awareness and attention to you and the brand and the summit. It gives you sales opportunity because you have increased interest and engagement by your audience. And it's like, hey, if you're interested in this, maybe you like this, and you give them something they can purchase. So you can create a sales opportunity without having to be overly salesy or very aggressive. And it still builds your list. It creates momentum. Your speakers on each of them are still promoting it. So if you do it monthly, you generate more leads that month. The next month, you have another one, generates more leads. So these are very, very powerful for awareness, list building, essentially doing everything in an extended period. They're also, because they are one-day summits, they're easier and quicker to put on. You just have to do them more frequently. And this can be done at one time. You can do all 4. Like if you're doing a limited series, you could do everything for the 4 and then just release them over the course, or set up a system where like monthly you're doing your interviews, they go to post-production and then go out. This is really used to keep momentum and awareness in a brand, a business, or even in between an in-person event. Virtual experiences. This is another type of virtual event. These are fun. These are different. These are not, the purpose of these are geared towards a fun and engaging experience. So this creates something for your audience, your attendees to participate in. These could be like dance party, karaoke, bingo, rum tasting, mixology classes. I mean, anything that creates a fun environment. And if you're sitting there thinking, how could that be virtual? 75% or even more of what you can do in person, you can do virtual if you create the right environment for it. So the primary goal with this is community building and creating a fun experience. So it's very much less geared towards learning. So virtual study groups, this is another one. So virtual study groups are primarily created for your current clients or audience. A lot of times they're added on to a current program that already exists, or as something as an add-on to your virtual experience or your in-person experience. Really helps with accountability, community, and creating progress for your audience. So easily added as a bonus component. Typically small groups, 2 to 10 people. You can have multiple groups, but typically the study group is a small group. You wouldn't do a study group of 100 people. 2 to 10 people maximum, where 3 to 5 is kind of ideal. So if you have 50 people in your group, you could do 5 study groups, or you could do 5 divided by 50, you could do 10 different study groups. These are a lot of times self-moderated, meaning it's less about you as the host and it's more about the audience. So you could get somebody to self-nominate, like I'll be the time tracker, or I'll take notes, etc., or they can vote or decide, etc. And this is typically an ongoing frequency, so it happens over and over. Maybe it's monthly, maybe it's weekly, depending on the outcome and reason for your study group. And it is there to create community as well as to get the progress. You want the attendees, the audience, getting results. So we have some resources. I'll link those below here. You can get access to that. If you want more information on multi-day summits, we have a free summitology program you can get access to. I have a legacy article on the one-day summit with all the information you could potentially want about one-day summits. I have a video training series, which I'll make available for you here for the summit series. And then we have our virtual summit podcast. You can just go onto your podcast provider, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or whatever, and just look for virtual summit podcast. And there's a podcast resource. I want to give these there because I don't want to go too deep in each of these on this training, because not all of you are going to want those. If you want more information for whichever one, those are available for you for free below. Additionally, I wanted to open your mind when it comes to virtual summit themes. These can be used in other areas, but typically more on virtual summits. But open your mind to the differences, because most of you are thinking keynotes and interviews. Keynotes and interviews. Those are probably the two most boring types of summit themes or sessions, I would say. So I want to open your mind to some stuff we do with our Viral Summits concierge clients. So of course you have a type, and you could take this and translate this over into workshops and masterminds, probably more masterminds than workshops, but for sure in the summit category. There's information-based, okay? That's your traditional Q&A interviews or your hybrid interviews, which is like intro, presentation, and then Q&A at the end. So those are information-based. It's just focused on learning. Keep in mind, with themes, you can interchange them as well. Then you have humor-based. This could be like comedy style. This could be a slapstick style. We have influencer-based or celebrity-based, where its primary focus is bringing on influencers and celebrity, and that's what drives attentions to it. We have case study or testimony-based, which is like filtered in. A lot of times this is with a one-day summit, filtering in a lot of different case studies that teach or give results, but highlights back to the host as the expert or the ones who gets it. Summit Talks is one of my favorite. This is TED Talk style. So just like you would see in a TED Talk event, these are short sessions, 7 to 18 minutes, which are not just talking head. They have to be like fully produced so the person can do a speech essentially. And then you do in post-production, hyperclip, their presentation over top of it. And it makes it much more, increases the quality, and it's more kind of story-based, just more professional. Mystery-based is kind of like a discovery theme. They don't know the answer. They're constantly trying to figure out the answer as they go, and then it's revealed towards the end. Hero's journey is, hey, I started here, and this is where it follows somebody who had a problem or started out as the underdog, and then goes through and highlights the different steps that person or that person made until they eventually got the results, and now they're helping people. So a lot of these will incorporate a theme throughout the summit and then incorporate other session styles around it. But there's the main theme is that. Reporter is just like breaking news style, like here's what's new today, and this is usually done in kind of like a last minute, or you got to get out because something's happened. It's usually around a situation where you want to get the information out right away. Docu Summit is like a docu-series style. However, it's released in the format of a summit, which changes it up, and then it allows us to add more types of content other than just a docu-series style video. We can do it as a summit and incorporate other engagement strategies.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
Interactive is, think like cooking show or workshop, where you do something and they interact with you as you're doing it and they get a result at the end. Summit Story is one of my other favorite types of themes, and this is like a Netflix style. Think of episodic. So there's a story that happens throughout the summit, and it has episodes throughout. This is really cool. And then inspiration based or tearjerker. This one is focused on creating emotion and energy and really around the emotion. So that's a different type of themes, just to expand your mind around that. Now, different types of session. Again, traditional Q&A interviews are the most common type. Boring. Make sure you can have those, but make sure you incorporate other things as well. We have panels. Yes, you can do panels. They can be live streamed or recorded. You've got keynotes. You have group share. These can be done in breakouts. We'll talk about how to do these in the tech section of this training. You've got the entertainer, so you can be a performance where you bring on a poet, an author, a band, a singer. You can do a hybrid interview where it has traditional Q&A at the end, but a presentation based in the middle. Debates, yes, you can do a debates live or recorded. Workshops where it's done with you. Round tables where it could either be speaker led, so you give more speaker opportunities, or it could also be attendee led. So you have breakouts where the attendees lead the round tables. Live Q&A. can be done. Fireside chats, hot seats, which are really popular, again, could be live streamed or pre-recorded, and then even mastermind sessions. So think differently. Engagement strategies. You could have speaker meet and greets. We'll talk about technology you can use for that. You could do a picture with the speaker, even here on Zoom. You got the two people, they get a screen capture of it. Coaches Corner. You have times where they can set up calls with trainers or sales team. Self-discovery, like a quiz or a survey. Lab style, do it with us. A scavenger hunt, where they're searching for something. Performer, they do something like take a video of themselves doing an activity and then post it in the group. Feedback, leave a comment under this video or go send us an email. Group study, they get together. We've already talked about that. Summit playbook, which maps it out, guides out the event. Referral incentives, like share and tell a friend and be entered into a raffle. Live streams, which we've already talked about. Physical goodies, send them a gift like a custom box. Raffles, which create a win-win scenario. So you can see there's all kinds of different types of options. So you got to think creatively. Don't get stuck in what you've always done, either in an in-person event or what you've ever experienced in a virtual event. I promise you, one of my missions, not only with this training, but in our company and our business, is to evolve virtual experiences and virtual summits. So that's why we are incorporating all of those different types of things into different events we do. So which one should I do? Well, it depends on what your event or what your goal is. So if you already know you have a mastermind that got canceled or postponed, you're trying to do a mastermind, you already know that. But if you're sitting here going like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I need to incorporate an event, a virtual event, well, you need to think about like, what's the goal? Do you already have an audience? Do you have a mastermind? Do you have a group of people? Or are you trying to build one? If you're trying to build one, then you're probably going on a summit. Now, also keep this in mind. It doesn't mean you can only do one or the other. Most successful companies and brands that I know, ourselves included, we do a variety of all of these. We have an annual multi-day summit. We also have one or two one-off tactical one-day summits. And then we have a summit series that goes on. We also have virtual workshops. And now we've had to do a virtual mastermind. We don't regularly do virtual masterminds, but that is possible. So what I'm saying is you don't have to do one or the other. I'd also say don't try and do them all at the same time either. That's too much. Pick one, start with one. So if you're trying to build an audience and that's your goal, well, then you should do a multi-day summit. So if you already have an audience and you are trying to monetize, maybe your primary goal is you need to sell a high ticket offer. Well, maybe then a mastermind or even a workshop into a high-end ticket is better, or a one-day summit into a high-end ticket. So what are you creating? Why are you creating the virtual event? Consider that. And then think about your audience. What's the best thing for your audience? Do they want a multi-day summit, or would a one-day summit be better? Do they want access to you more, or would they be cool just getting things as they go and being on their own schedule? Are they looking more for connection, or are they really just looking to learn? So think about your audience. And then also, what are you selling? Are you selling a high ticket coaching program? Are you selling a simple course? Are you selling a membership, a recurring revenue membership? All of those depend, you decide on that, and then it'll be more clear on whether you should do a mastermind, a membership, a workshop, a summit, a one-day summit series. And for those of you who are really motivated, I would recommend doing a little bit of all of these, even if you have an in-person event. If you have, let's say you have a conference in the fall, then in the spring, you could have a virtual multi-day summit. Let's say you need to bridge those gaps. You could have a one-day summit series that happens, 3 or 4, a limited or an ongoing every other month or every 6 weeks that bridges that community there. If you want to take your people that go into a high-end mastermind, you've already got that. Why not add a virtual component to it, which will reduce your costs and make it easier for them as well. And additionally, if you've got something you teach, why not just sell a mid-price ticket, $2,000 to $10,000, and do it virtual versus making people come, and then still adding the other option as well. So it really comes down to what is your goal and what does your audience want.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.